Hi there. Welcome back to our Special Olympics Illinois webcast tutorials. Today we're talking about powerlifting and specifically defining your combined events. Previously, in a previous session, we talked about squat and bench press and deadlift. This session we're going to focus on our combined event with bench press and deadlift, and then of course our combined that includes squat as well. To set up these events, we'll identify each event as having one round of competition initially. Once we go in and we set our final divisions, we'll go back and change the event definitions to having 2 rounds of competition. This will relate only to your squat, bench press, and deadlift because those events we will division ahead of time and then they will compete within those divisions and be awarded appropriately. With combined, since you need to division on site based on their performance that day to figure that award, we won't necessarily need to set up final divisions for combined initially, but we'll be doing that on site. So it is a little bit tricky, and we're going to walk you through that process here. So what you're going to need before we get started, as always, is a copy of your policies and procedures for reference, specifically a copy of the powerlifting rule interps. And then it's helpful also to have a copy of the powerlifting entry form just for reference. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm here in my powerlifting qualifier. We have previously set up our bench press, deadlift, and squat. So now we're going to go in and define our combined events. So I'm going to select on our combined up here, go to setup and define. And remember, we have made these gender neutral events, so we're going to go ahead and take female out of the title. And let's go ahead and change that event code to get rid of that F. And this is an individual event. And then here we're going to capitalize division names. We are also going to combine rounds to get the final score. And it will use multi-part scores here. We will leave this selected. And of course, we do use levels. And now we're going to leave this initially set for 2 rounds because the combined, we're not going to go ahead and division those ahead of time. So we can go ahead and leave that as 2 rounds. Again, we need to change our levels so that they match what we use here in Illinois and how we have it set up. So we're going to delete all those. We'll click Add. And since I just set up my previous events, I still have all my levels on my clipboard, so I can just paste those in there. So then we'll go Save, and we'll see all of our levels here, and save that. Of course, our awards are medals, first through third. In our place assignment, we do not skip places on ties. And again, we're going to change these age groups to be 14, and let's hope maybe we can get a 22 to 30, and then a 30 and up. And we'll go ahead and save that, just as a starting point. And then for our date for calculating ages, we'll put that in as December 31st, and get rid of our scoreboard name. Now here for combined, we do want selected, we get a new option here. That 0 is an invalid score. We want that checked because if for some reason they do not have a successful lift in either bench press or deadlift, then they are disqualified from combined. So they don't get that extra award. So we do want that selected. And then we're going to change our honest effort to 30%. And since we've selected up here that we combine rounds to get our final score, we're going to see here these options. Since we want to only have to input in one place, we're going to use 100% of the preliminary score and 0% of the final. What this means is when we're inputting results, we'll actually input them in the preliminary round column, and it will automatically transfer that score over to the final round. That will allow us to do a final division on site based off of this preliminary score. And then we'll also have the final scores pre-populated to just be able to go through and calculate places pretty quickly. So then our round specific rules for preliminary, we are going to use all parts, bench press and deadlift, and it is the sum. And then if I select here on my score part, again, if you remember in any other event that had score parts, when you click on the first one, it usually doesn't open all the way, but if you come here and click on the second, it'll force that window open. So here our score part's going to be named bench press. It is weight. We can put in a minimum or maximum, or we can leave those at 0. We're going to go ahead and leave those at 0 for now. And then we want to select here to get score from the final score of another event. And this is going to be, we're going to choose bench press. And once we set this up, all of our events, we've input all of our athletes, we've divisioned, we'll go back and select, change our squat, bench press, and deadlift to have 2 rounds. So then we'll just come in here and check to make sure that this is going for the preliminary score for the bench press so that it's pulling the right score. And we want to make sure that this is not checked as a practice score. And we're going to do the same thing here for deadlift. Tell it to go get that score from deadlift. And then if we just scroll down here, we're going to leave this as it's defaulted because that's how we want it. And again, since we started with this as a female event, we want to make sure that our males are allowed in it as well. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to right click and come in here and do the same thing for our combined that includes squat. So let's just go ahead and take female out of the title. We change our event code. And we want multi-part, we want levels, and we also want to combine rounds together. I'm going to go ahead and delete our levels that are in here, and let's go ahead and add the levels that we use. Now we're going to click Save and click Save. We don't skip places on ties. And we're going to change our age groups to start with something maybe a little bit more realistic and go 14, 22 in the best case world where we could actually have age groups in powerlifting, our 3 age groups to start with. And of course, setting our date for calculating ages. And we'll get rid of that scoreboard name. And again, we want 0 as an invalid score. And we're going to use 100% of the preliminary and 0 of the final. And for preliminary, we want all parts, and that's the sum, as well as final should be all parts and sum. Again, we're going to select here to get our bench press to open all the way up. We want bench press, and we're going to get our score from the bench press. And let's take off use success failure flag. That could get a little complicated for your volunteers. It's not as user-friendly as I would like it to be. So then we'll set our deadlift. Oh, there we go. And our squat here. Okay, now we're just going to scroll down here. That stays the same, and let's make sure that our males are allowed in this event. And then we can save that. And now that is setting up your combined events. And we will talk more specifically in another session here about going in and changing these bench press, deadlift, and squat to 2 rounds, as well as inputting your results on site. So then go ahead and join me back here for those additional sessions on inputting results and setting up those events with 2 rounds. As always, I hope this was helpful and makes your life a little bit easier with powerlifting, and hope to see you in the next session.